When you first open up Amazon Connect to start your configuration, you're going to find under contact flows a list of predefined contact flows. You'll notice that they're all published, and you'll also notice a little description here of what that particular contact flow does. But what's most important is that there is a type with each contact flow. And so you need to be aware of the type of contact flow you're creating. Now, I assume that you have downloaded or imported the Dr. VoIP quick start templates. So there are about 8 of them. I have them here. And I'm going to walk through these and help you understand how these contact flows work together and why certain contact flows are implied in your call flow, regardless of whether you specify them as a step or not. So, having said that, I would remind you to import your Dr. VoIP scripts, and you're going to end up changing the name of them. When you change the name of them, they refer to other contact flows, and you're going to need to change those names as well. I also encourage you to publish from the bottom up. By that I mean you're going to start with the main greeting. And if you look at the main greeting, you're going to find that it makes references to other contact flows. Let's try to make this a little more readable. And these contact flows, if you go to publish, it's going to light up here and tell you there's an error. It can't find this particular contact flow. And that's what I mean. If you're referencing one of the templates we provided you, you're going to need to modify that template. So what I'd like to do here is explain some of the tricks that we've used here. And let's start with the main greeting. Even though you're probably going to start with some of the subsidiary contact flows first. So you're going to attach a telephone number to this contact flow. It's the main greeting. It provides for a top level IVR menu, which I'll cover in a second, and a subsidiary menu. So the first thing we do is do a lot of the setup. I like to get that out of the way. So we set the voice. You can go in here and change the voice. We set the logging behavior. We set the contact call recording behavior, which is generally to enable the agent and the customer. We set the hold flow. Now, in the hold flow step, you'll see that you select either the agent or the customer, and you also select the default hold behavior. Now, this hold behavior is going to describe what happens when an agent puts a customer on hold or when a customer puts an agent on hold. And there's defaults. And one of the things you'll notice in Connect is that these defaults generally apply whether you specify them or not. So the benefit of specifying them is that you can create an experience for that, in this case, a hold flow, that is of your own creation rather than using the system that's provided by Amazon Connect's standard default example. So we have one for the agent, we have one for the customer, and then we also have the Whisper agent. You'll see here it's referring to the Dr. VoIP agent Whisper remove caller from queue. Now, if you're using Dexter, you'll need to use this. If you're not using the Dexter dashboard, you can just use the default step here. Nothing bad will happen if you use this. It's just going to refer to some Lambda code, which I'll explain later. Well, I'll explain right now. Here it is, Lambda code. So Dexter has the ability to create holiday schedules or ad hoc closings in which a supervisor might close a queue for a team meeting. So what we do here is we invoke a Lambda function to check and see if today is a holiday. If it's closed, we go this route. If it's not closed, then we check the normal operating hours. And here we're checking basic hours. I'm using basic because every contact instance comes with basic hours. You may want to change these to your company hours, or more importantly, you may create hours for each queue that you have. And this enables the possibility that a queue for sales may operate on a different hourly basis than tech support, for example. And then what we're going to do here is if it's out of hours, we're going to transfer off to voicemail or transfer off to the after hours call handling. Um, what we've done here is to extend the error handling to voicemail and to select out of hours. In other words, a caller comes in here and it's after business hours. We're going to send them to the after hours call handling, which I'll show you shortly. Um, at that point, we play a uh, what we call a mandatory prompt. This is your basic CYAE. Your phone call will be recorded, blah, blah, blah. And we pop up here to an IVR. Please press 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for something else, or for everything else, press 4. Press 4 is going to take you to a another IVR. So if you want to say press 1 for accounting, 2 for sales, 3 for technical support, for all other company functions, press 4. You can put a subsidiary IVR here, and we'll go through that. After that, we transfer to a flow. I don't like to transfer directly to a queue, and keep in mind you have to set the queue before you can transfer to a queue. What I like to do here is to transfer to a flow. And in this flow, that's when we'll set the queue. And the reason for that is because we may want to have a different queue experience for sales than we do for technical support. And this enables us to set that up, and I'll show you that in a minute. At the moment, these all transfer to the same basic queue. You're going to want to modify this for sales, etc., technical support. But as every Amazon Connect instance comes with the basic queue, just to make sure these things all work when you import them without change, it'll transfer to the basic queue. You're going to set up your own queues and then modify this accordingly. And then, of course, we have an error handler. As you'll notice, almost every step has a error exit. So if there's an error, um, we want to send to some solution for handling. These would be system level errors. So as opposed to, let's say, a timeout or a default destination if nobody selects something on the IVR. So I set up an error handler. Typically, I'll show it to you. It's another part of the script. So what you need to know when I say publish from the bottom up is if you go to publish this, you'll probably get errors all over the place because the default templates that you've obtained from Dr. VoIP have for example, it says transfer to Dr. VoIP other. Well, if you don't have a contact flow named Dr. VoIP other, if you've changed the name of the flow, then you're going to get an error. So you'll need to fix that before you can publish it. You'll also notice that we now have the ability to have versions. So you can see here that a previously saved copy of this versus a previously published version of this are all retrievable, and that's very, very helpful. So you can make changes to this. You can do a save. You can do a save as. And here's where I would caution you about save as. You want to go ahead and change your name here and then do a save as before you publish, because if you think you're going to make changes here, um, note that every one of these call flows has a unique Amazon resource number. And that's actually what the call flow is going to follow. So to create a new ARN, you're going to need to do a save as, and then open the Save As and publish it. So just to summarize, when you load up these templates, they should all work, but you're going to have to publish them in reverse order. So let me give you an example of that. For example, let me see, there are places in here. Okay, let's go to the save. If you had not previously published the Dr. VoIP transfer to voicemail, when you go to publish this, you're going to get an error. This will turn red and it'll say, hey, I can't find this script. Just because you have it in your contact flow bin doesn't mean that it's available to other contact flows. It's only going to be available after you publish it. So if we go back here to the contact flows, you're going to see that there is a template that we've loaded up here. Let's say Dr. VoIP transfer to voicemail. You're going to want to open that up, modify it, change the, let's take a quick look at it. You'll see it's very simple. It speaks a menu. It speaks a prompt, and the prompt is please hold during the silence while we transfer you to the message center. Also note that we're using SML as opposed to text, SSML, speech synthesis markup language. It enables you to use these tags, the speak tag, there are many other tags that you can put in here. They help control the speed, the pitch, different aspects of pronunciation. For example, you may want to read a number instead of saying 858,000, you might want to say 858. And these tags enable you to do that. So I recommend when using text to speech that you do in fact use the speak tabs. So you're going to want to change this. You're going to want to change the phone number of the voicemail. You notice here we transfer to a phone number. We also have optional parameters set for after dialing. What this does is enable me to call a main number here and then output the extension number once the auto attendant at this phone number answers. So you're going to want to go through the contact flows that we've provided, and you're going to want to modify and publish everything from the smallest script on up. So voicemail transfer, other basic queue hold with callback. I'm going to focus on this, but these have to be published first before you can publish the main greeting, because the main greeting refers to these other scripts. Okay, by way of review, we've got a phone number. It comes into the main greeting. The main greeting is doing all of the setup. Like to get that out of the way, we're going to play a CYA, and then we're going to offer the caller some options. Press 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for something else. Press 1 for sales, 2 for support, 3 for customer service. And the tendency would be to exit the IVR and point to, set the queue and then transfer to queue. You have to set the queue before you can transfer it. The problem with that is that there is a default queue experience that will be played to that caller regardless of the fact that you did or did not include that here in this call flow. During the time a call is being transferred to an agent, whether it's to the agent's desktop or to the soft phone, that caller is placed in basically a hold situation, and you want to control what that person hears. You're going to want to have your own queue experience defined. And if you put it at the beginning, you're going to cause a situation in which that queue experience is shared by all the different queues. Now, that may be acceptable, but it may also be that the sales team wants different messages played on hold, different hours of operation, different options offered to the caller on hold than, let's say, the people in tech support or customer service. So what I prefer to do is create a separate transfer for each of the exits on an IVR before I set the queue and transfer to queue. So in this case, they're all going to basic queue. So let's take a look at that. And the basic queue in this situation is also um, has a subsidiary IVR in it. You might want to take that out, but in this case, let's assume we're transferring to the sales team. We're going to set the customer queue flow. Now, this is set to the template I've provided called Dr. VoIP queue hold callback. And that is what the person is going to be listening to while they're waiting to connect to an agent or while they're on hold waiting to connect to an agent. And you may want this to be different for the sales team than the support team. So that's why I like to break this out as a separate. I'll set that in the contact flow that sets up the experience for a particular queue like sales so that I can do a save as the sales queue or save as technical support queue. I could do a sales queue callback, a support queue callback. So at any rate, we come in here, we set this experience. There's an IVR played that is offering, maybe from the main menu, it said press one for sales, and then you press one for sales, and now it says press one for Mac sales and PC sales, etc. And then we set the working queue here rather than in the previous contact flow so that we can customize this queue contact flow. Can't emphasize that enough as a sane strategy for managing your queues. This way you can set all of the queue specific stuff in a new contact flow. And then you set your working queue and you transfer to queue. Again, you'll notice that almost each one of these has an error exit, and we send that off to a separate flow that deals with error handling. So having said that, let's go in here and take a look at the queue hold with callback. Queue hold with callback. So what happens here is, let me get this out of the way. What happens here is we're going to start by setting up an announcement. Thanks for your patience. We love you. Hold the line. We play some music, and then 60 seconds later, we interrupt, and you can create additional follow-on messages. We still love you. We still thank you for your patience. Play more music. You can use this to pretty much set up how you want to handle your call experiences. We set that up. We check the queue status. Now, this is kind of a poor man's estimated wait time. And what we do here is to check the status, and we're looking at time in queue, and we're saying if it's greater than 3 minutes, we're going to check an external hours for callback. Now, previously discussed hours and having separate schedules for sales and technical support, so on. But each of those may also have something called sales callback hours. And what we're trying to do here is the call center operates from 9 to 5. And if we're offering folks the option to press 1 to receive a callback, without losing your position in queue, something like that, then what we want to do is maybe stop offering that option at 4 o'clock. And that's what's going on here. We're going to check the queue status. We're going to then check the schedule to see if we should offer a call back or not. It's the same flow except that we don't offer the callback option. So this says, thanks for calling. If you would prefer to receive a callback, press 1, but 2 to leave a voicemail, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, what we're going to do is to collect the customer's input. We're going to ask them to enter their phone number. There's some code here that verifies it's a legitimate phone number, reads it back to the caller, gives them the opportunity to re-enter it, and that at any time um, an agent becomes available, this call flow will be interrupted, the caller be connected to the agent, or if they've gone out the callback, you'll see it says transfer to queue, and here's where you set the callback queue that you want this caller to be part of. Generally, you'll set it to the same queue they selected when they called in, but you'll find sometimes that people want to win back teams, so they set up a separate queue for handling callbacks. So that's an overview of the scripts, the templates. They're quick starts. They're designed to help you get your contact center up and operational, provide a lot of flexibility, and they're designed to work with the basic queue. You're going to want to copy, save as, and publish these queues. For example, you'll take transfer to basic queue and save it as transfer to the sales queue. You'll take the queue hold with callback and change it and save it as sales queue call with holdback, and support queue call with holdback, so that you can create a different experience for your queues. They can be personalized. Having separate hours for each of these queues is also a smart thing to do. So I think that's a good overview of some tips and tricks. This is designed to help you get up and running. If you're using Dexter, you'll find that there are references here to Lambda functions that you may or may not use. Always get in the habit of connecting your success and error on an invoke Lambda function to the next step, so that if the Lambda function fails, you're still going to continue your call flow. Nothing bad will happen. Something bad will happen if your Lambda function fails and you're routing them off to error handling. So keep that in mind. Hit me up with any requests. I'm glad to help you with your Lambda functions, help you setting up text messaging for alerting an on-calls technician, for example. There are lots that can be done here. A lot of times we will replace the IVR call tree with a Lex speech recognition tree. It is the 21st century, so I don't know why we're still pressing 1 for this and 2 for that, when you can put Lex in here and have callers speak. I hope you have found this informative, guys, and thanks for viewing.